It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, February 13th. I'm Mac Watson. All 59 Wyoming representatives who were on the House floor on Thursday afternoon voted to convene a special committee to investigate the checks given to lawmakers on the House floor on Monday. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that the committee will investigate if it was an act of bribery or legislative misconduct.
A few of us saw Rebecca Bextel on the House floor Monday, but Representative Carly Provenza had the close vantage and took photographs of Bextel handing checks to House members. This erupted Wednesday when Representative Mike Yin was like, do not vote yes on a bill that Bextel has championed after accepting checks from her on the House floor. He said, it's a bad optics. We don't want the image of bribery. And that exploded again Thursday when Representative Carly Provenza, who originally shot the photographs of this incident, brought a provision to convene a 7-representative investigative panel to determine whether this was bribery or misconduct. And there was extensive debate, like 3 hours of debate, attempts to amend, discussions, people urging other people not to be biased. At the end, all 59 members who were on the House floor available to vote at that time voted in favor of convening this committee. The House Speaker is now tasked with forming the committee, and he promised to form a fair committee, and he urged everyone to give it grace during this very rushed, very frantic budget session.
Rebecca Bextel is not a state legislator or registered lobbyist. She's a political activist, and after starting her outlet, the Open Range Record, she was registered to attend this year's session as a member of the media. Senate President Bo Biteman told colleagues on Thursday that Wyoming needs to stop waiting and start leading as demand for electricity is expected to spike. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that Biteman spelled out a vision that would put Wyoming in front of Trump's push for American energy supremacy.
There's a trio of bills now working their way through the Wyoming legislature, and one of them kind of defines what they're all about. It's about energy dominance. So one bill that was voted into introduction on Thursday directs the Wyoming Energy Authority to study the transmission opportunities. What is the best way for Wyoming to approach the energy market? Senate President Bo Biteman stood on the floor today and told his fellow senators that he wants Wyoming to be the tip of the spear, meaning that as the Trump administration urges the entire country to create more energy as fast as possible, Biteman envisions Wyoming leading the pack.
Introducing Senate File 123, the Wyoming Energy Dominance Fund, Biteman spelled out a vision for the state to position itself at the front of the Trump administration's push for American energy supremacy, backed by roughly $105 million in redirected severance tax revenues. Wyoming officials are universally cheering the Trump administration's Thursday repeal of an Obama-era rule that was the linchpin for EPA climate regulations. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that environmental groups say that the move ignores science and invites legal challenges.
What they say is that it really was a giant overreach on government's part to then just be able to use this rule to say it affects the Clean Air Act. Everybody I talked to within Wyoming said that this is way past due. There are detractors. Environmental groups say that they're going to keep fighting it. I think they were just ready to sue whenever this came down. So that's going to face lawsuits.
Now, by eliminating the rule, President Donald Trump and EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin say they're doing away with the single largest deregulatory action in U.S. history. That's according to an EPA statement announcing the move. A Wyoming House committee advanced a bill Thursday that would provide funding for a study on how data centers, carbon capture, and other large-scale industrial projects might sap or impact the state's water supply. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland says the bill is just the beginning.
It would be $500,000 to investigate the things that take water out of our water cycle, that sap Wyoming water. Data centers were implicated in that bill. And an environmental group that actually said, we don't want you to pass this bill right now, said that's because it wasn't big enough. It didn't give enough money. It didn't have enough scope of investigation, and they want to go bigger.
Now, Representative Carly Provenza says that data centers can pose a consequential problem for Wyoming. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
Out here, everything takes longer. The miles in between teach patience. They teach you what's worth driving for. In Wyoming, miles are how we measure love. the distance you'll go to help a neighbor, to pick up your kid from an activity, or to visit someone you care about. That's why Hilltop Bank rides with you through every mile. We're not just close by, we're traveling the same roads. Hilltop Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. A parent of a kindergartner is angry after a teacher at Sage Elementary School in Rock Springs read a book about non-binary gender ideology to her son's class. Cowboy State Daily's Kate Meadows reports that the principal said the teacher stopped reading the book when she realized what it was about.
According to the principal, the book was removed from the classroom and from the school. The parents say the book was read in its entirety. They want the school to teach kindergartners how to read and not push an agenda. Now, the school will say, we're not trying to push an agenda. The parents want to know, how did the book get in this kindergarten classroom in the first place? The principal said that it was part of a book box that arrived at the school from Scholastic as a sort of promotional, kind of like a sample package. And they were not immediately aware that this particular book was a part of that box.
My Shadow is Purple is a rhyming picture book by Scott Stewart about a child whose shadow is neither the traditional boy color of blue nor pink, but purple, representing a mix of both, but also something new. In an effort to fix Wyoming's physician shortage, a bill to create a new pathway for foreign-trained doctors has advanced in the House. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that Representative Jacob Wasserberger said Wyoming is headed for a healthcare crisis.
Wyoming is projected to lose around 335 physicians by 2030, which is just around the corner. And currently, 18 of Wyoming's 23 counties have a health professional shortage. And so this is lawmakers and working with medical administrators and professionals around the state trying to get ahead of the problem. What it does is it creates a regulatory framework, a management of foreign trained doctors where they come in and they are essentially preceptored by existing physicians in the state. So it's trying to establish a regulatory path for foreign trained doctors to come to Wyoming to work under the supervision of an existing physician here and then ultimately end up with a Wyoming medical license.
The bill passed its introduction vote 60-0, with 2 members excused, and was assigned to the House Labor Committee. No members spoke in opposition. The 2 men killed Sunday when their semi-trailer exploded on impact with another semi on I-80 near Green River were identified on Wednesday. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that a father-son driving duo was from Citrus Heights, California.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad follow-up to the fatal truck explosion that happened Sunday near Green River on I-80. Basically, you got confirmation on who was in the truck, and it was a father-son driving duo out of California. The son was driving at the time. The truck veered over through an extra lane and hit this other truck that was illegally parked on the side of the highway. And as in a movie, their truck exploded on impact. Their family put out a post on a GoFundMe page that kind of explains, just how it was really, of course, sudden. Nobody could see it coming. Now, the truck was parked illegally. You're only supposed to be able to park on the highway if you have an emergency. And apparently, the other driver did not have an emergency. He has been summoned into court. He's supposed to be in court next month. So whether there's any other charges added to it right now, all he's been cited for is illegal parking.
According to the Wyoming Highway Patrol, 36-year-old Aleski Fadoon was driving their Volvo semi-trailer along with his father, 76-year-old Vladimir Fadoon, before 5:30 a.m. on Sunday, when the truck drifted from the far left lane through the right lane and collided with the parked semi. Cheyenne Lead CEO Betsy Hale says she has a solution for the Heinz building, which has been empty for over 40 years, and the burnt-out area next to it is known as The Hole. Cowboy State Daily's Renee Jean reports that Hale says she has the funding to turn the area into 69 units of workforce housing.
People have said, why don't you just tear it down and start over if it's so hard to renovate? But it's also expensive to knock a building like that down. It's steel, it's concrete, it's going to cost a lot to knock it down. Couldn't renovate it. Changing that has involved layering a whole bunch of different things together, different financial packages, plus a pledge from Cheyenne Leads to put in $1 million to this project. There's a 6-month million grant from the WCBA. That's the Wyoming Community Development Authority. These are going to be, the houses that are going in here are going to be income restricted. It's not Section 8 housing. It's a different federal program, but they will be income restricted to 30 to 60% of the average median incomes.
Carved out by a fire that destroyed Mary Bake Shop in 2004, the gaping Heinz Hole, as it's often called, has become a symbolic void right in the middle of Cheyenne's downtown. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for watching. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.